In Zenless Zone Zero's versions 2.8 and 3.0, the game will be offering 7 agents for players to pull for or build around, with some big unknowns heading into version 3.1. In order, we have Promeia and Lucia, Starlight, Billy and Orphie, Pyrois, Velina, and Norma. This can be a tough decision for some players. Many of you watching are free-to-play and low-budget players. Maybe you're watching this because you're brand new or relatively new. But maybe you noticed this video because maybe you stopped playing for a while, but something about Season 3 interested you. Howdy, my name's Yojimbo Blade, and today, let's have a discussion about these agents and the game surrounding them, so you can make an informed decision. After discussing each agent, I will make a general recommendation based on long-term investment, from the perspective of someone who can only afford one new agent on a brand new account. I'm only doing one agent for a very good reason. Any agent you want costs 180 pulls, and you are fortunate if you get it for less. And you should probably save your pulls for the anniversary, which is in 3.1. I do have something important to share when I wrap this up, so stay tuned for that. Tired of losing out on 50/50s? Want to get resources for cheaper? Have I got the solution for you? Introducing a VPN. Just use a VPN. Save your money. This video is brought to you by my sponsors. I can't stand those ad reads. They're pretty annoying, and it's not even a good product. Before we start, I want to mention possible freebies in 3.0 or 3.1. Usually anniversary patches give away a free agent in W Engine. Up until now, those have been standard agents in W Engines, but ZZZ has placed them alongside a few others in the collectible exchange. That's the shop where they throw the agents they've given up on selling. The reason I can comfortably say that is, based on my understanding, Honkai Star Rail has a very similar shop system, and none of those characters in that shop have had a rerun since they were placed in there. So I will assume Bernice, Chingy, and Jane will be selectable. It just makes sense. Because 3.1 is the anniversary, it's also possible they will place more agents in the shop and also release more potential unlocks. At least for the rest of the standard agents, because they announced that a while ago. And those include Nekomata, Kaleda, and Rina. Again, nothing's confirmed, these are just rational possibilities. If I had to guess any reruns, it's possible they don't do any in 3.0, but to speculate, the only ones I think that are old enough to rerun and worth selling are Yanagi, Miyabi, Evelyn, Banyue, Trigger, and Dial-In. Yeshangong is still a bit too new for 3.0. Trigger and Dial-In are unlikely because Norma competes against them, so they probably won't do that, at least not in 3.0, of course. It's just not good for sales. Evelyn has synergy with Norma, but they might think Evelyn's too old and underpowered to sell. Yanagi and Miyabi are questionable because they want disorders, and the new anomaly enemies are designed for wind agents and or ablooms, so those two aren't very useful for that, and for other reasons I'll talk about later. Bondway is the one I think makes the most sense, whilst being the most humorous. In 2.4, his banner only lasted 12 days, so when they announced that 3.0 will have a shorter patch cycle by about a week, I think a 14-day banner with Norma would be very funny. It would be an improvement though. Also, 3.1 would be the best time to bring back the triple rerun banner. I have no clue who they would pick. I'll guess Dylan, Vivian, and Harumasa. Who am I kidding? They aren't selling Harumasa. Make that Ellen. Who cares? One final thing. 3.1 is probably when they will release their next Void Hunter, who is definitely Remiel. I'm trying to write this part before too much of the beta gets leaked. My guesses are that if she is a wind agent, she will be Rupture, and if she's not Wind, she will be Anomaly, and Sunbringer will be Wind Rupture. Until they make Void Hunter supports, they will probably just go in order of Anomaly, Rupture, Attacker. So Anomaly is next. I would guess Remiel could be Wind Anomaly, but Velina's right there, and that would probably hurt their sales. With all of that said, starting off with Pyrois, Pariah Carry, Pariah Hyper Carry. I'm starting with Pariah Carry because he, or it, or whatever it is probably free. This ether attacker appears to be Bell and Wise's hollow persona to fight enemies. They say Shazam and Steel Chakra from the Nine-Tailed Fox. So it's probably similar to other gacha games. The main character's power gets slowly unlocked over the story, and they drip feed the mindscapes. Fun fact, Zenless once said they wanted ether to be a rare attribute, which is why since 2.0, they've made 2 ice agents, and the same time they've made 4 ether agents. This is number 5, and we could get number 6 very soon, hopefully not 7. It's hard to talk too much about this character because they could be literally anything. As of writing, no one knows what it will do. It hasn't been released in the beta, so I can't even attempt to spoil it. No one knows. It's just safe to assume Pyrois will be similar to agents like Julian or Ellen or Soldier 11. It will probably be good enough to use with decent gameplay on a decent team, but will be nowhere near the power of the agents that they are actually selling. So keep this character in the back of your mind. We will come back to Pariah Carry later. Promeia is an interesting character to discuss. She's an anomaly ice agent. Unlike Miyabi, she does a bloom stuff, which is great because they are creating a bloom weak enemies who are clearly designed to not reward Miyabi players. Promeia has a lot of teams and synergies that allow her to shine with her disorders and blooms. She feels really snappy, she looks visually engaging, and she can be very simple to play with room for high-end execution. I enjoy all of that stuff. If you are just starting, you can pretty easily build a team around her, especially with Sokaku or Nicole or Piper. You can use your anniversary selection to get Lycon, Grace, Bernice, or Jane, but I don't think Jane wants to be on a Promeia team. And Grace's W Engine Fusion Compiler is actually really good on her. My argument against Promeia isn't about her, it's about endgame design. Velina is around the corner. She's also in a bloom-centric agent, but she's wind. Season 3 will be doing some odd stuff with wind. It's very likely Velina's teams will be catered to over Promeia's teams. Now, Promeia is still great. She is obviously great. She's actually stronger than Miyabi in a lot of fights right now. Personally, I would rather have something else. If I were to start a brand new account and only pull for one of these agents, I don't think I would pick her for long-term investment. But for short-term investment, I think that she's actually really good. The fact that Sokaku is on her banner is a big positive. And if you are lucky enough to get Lycon pretty quick or from the anniversary, that's a pretty good deal. Because Promeia is ice, that synergy with ice is there, while Velina doesn't really have any synergy with wind agents because those don't exist yet. If there is one thing I definitely recommend is that you get Lucy's Kaboom the Cannon. They definitely made a mistake designing this thing because it's really good on basically every support, so try to get that if you can. Next is Lucia. Lucia is a support for Rupture agents. She's really good. And if you get Rena's Weeping Cradle for free, even better. Pan is right there on the next banner. He's decent, but not on her level. The biggest issue with Pan is, first, his buff can only be given through his EX's reverse quick assist, unless he uses it to start a chain attack. This affects certain team lineups and that creates issues. It's annoying for dial-in. And if it's annoying for dial-in in pretty much any stunner with a reverse quick assist, there's a good chance it's annoying for Norma, but no promises. Second, defense agents have incredibly weak W Engine team buffs. Now the devs announced in Season 3 they will, quote, explore more possibilities regarding combat strategies and team synergy. One of my guesses is that they will make Rupture agents that aren't just HP scalers. They can make a Rupture agent who gets sheer force based on their anomaly proficiency. That's just one example. They don't have to rely on HP. Because of that, I also believe they will create another sheer force buffer in the near future, who will work better with these new Rupture agents, while also being good for existing Rupture agents. And they don't have to be substantially better than Lucia, just a little bit. Lucia released back in 2.3, so don't be surprised if we get one relatively soon. Also, there aren't any good agents to pair with her if you only pull for her. You would like to get Monato at least, but he's on the next banner with Starlight Billy, and I'll address that soon. And there's no good synergy with the anniversary agents unless they make some really weird potential unlocks or do something really bizarre with Pyrois to be like a sheer force scaling attacker. That's probably not happening. Again, she's good assuming you have a Rupture agent. At worst, she's okay because of good W Engine and drive disc options, but she's not needed. Lucia is much better when the endgame makes shield buffs for Ether Veil like there is right now as of recording, but it's only happening once in 2.8, and as far as I can tell, it's not happening at all in 3.0, so you're not gonna get those buffs. My closing thoughts on Lucia is that she is good, but not as good of a support as Yuzuha or Dial-In. Yuzuha allows teams to do things they literally cannot do without her because of how much anomaly buildup she gives. Dial-In allows teams to do things they literally cannot do without her because she doubles your ults. Lucia just gives your rupture agents more damage, which is fine, but it's not game changing. As you can see, I'm using a team without Lucia, and the team's not good, but the team's fine. You don't need Lucia on the team. So if I were to start a brand new account right now, I would not use my one pull on Lucia for long-term investment. Now to Starlight Billy, Billy. Based on the very short amount of time I've been able to play him, he is basically physical Yidhari. He's really good. You can build pretty much any decent team around him. I don't think any of the free anniversary agents will be that useful. Maybe one of the stunners. Pan is on his banner, so in pulling for Starlight Billy, you will probably get Pan. Unlike Lucia, who has to dip into this banner for a good chance to get Monato, unless you want to spend residual signals. Regarding W engines, all the free Rupture engines are kind of bad. The event one is good, but that event is over, so you can't get it. Billy does spend his HP, so you can just give him Monato's W engine for the crit rate buff. Or better yet, don't even worry about timing a crit rate buff, and just give him Steel Cushion. Yeah, that sounds dumb, but it's actually good. That's because the current Rupture agents we have are kind of lame in how their stats work. You would think they are HP scalers, but they're not. They don't actually want HP, because only a portion of HP is converted into sheer force. Instead, they want crit stats. 10 crit rate is always 10 crit rate, it's a 1-to-1. They are crit scalers with high HP who really don't want any more HP. And they also convert some attack into sheer force anyway. That's why Steel Cushion is perfectly fine on the Rupture agents we have. Starlight Billy will benefit from some buffs in the endgame, but we only have 2 Rupture bosses, enemies that actually have high defense. Neither of those bosses are weak to physical, and Wandering Hunter resists physical. Granted, those are Season 2 enemies, so it's possible they rarely return in Season 3. Look how many times Bringer has come back. On that topic, Season 2 started with Yi Xuan, an Ether Rupture, and recently released Ye Shengguang, a physical attacker. We know that the game will try to make those agents feel weaker in Season 3 to sell the new agents. There's a reason the new boss in 2.8 is called the Anti-Void Hunter enemy. All the Void Hunters perform worse against this boss. Starlight Billy will inevitably end up in that crossfire just because he shares the same class and attribute as them, if those design trends continue. If I were to start a brand new account right now and only pull for one of these agents for long-term investment, I would not choose Starlight Billy. But if you have the budget to pick 2, and those 2 are Lucia and Billy, you can actually make 2 teams by matching up Monato and Billy with Pan and Lucia. On to Orphie. Orphie is an Aftershock DPS and a support for an Aftershock DPS. The only Aftershock DPS they've released is Soldier Zero Ambi, back in 1.6. And the most recent agent with Aftershocks was Lucia, back in 2.3. So the future of Aftershocks doesn't look very good. Now you can build a hyper carry Orphie, it's just not something I would ever recommend for a player on a tight budget. Those teams that I've seen are good, but they're also expensive and include agents that you cannot get unless they put lighter in the shop. If you get Orphie, you're probably hoping some agent in Season 3 is an Aftershock DPS. They could be really funny and make a Rupture Aftershock DPS. Try using Orphie's additional with that. Let me know how that goes. If the devs decide to give Norma a lot of Aftershocks, that would make Orphie a much stronger consideration, but I don't think they're going to do that. Maybe they do something weird with Kaleda or Pyrois. That's a bit wishful. That's not to mention that basically no one in her banner is suitable to be paired with her. You can try to use Soldier 11 with Orphie. It's a fun team, but Soldier 11 can't keep the buff up because she doesn't have any Aftershocks. And the available W engines you have aren't that good. At best you have Steel Cushion, which is just a stat stick. That's fine enough, but it's not what she wants. I can't recommend this agent without knowing what else is in Season 3, so I would not choose Orphie as my one agent for long-term investment. Now on to Velina. Velina is a wind anomaly agent. If you want to know what Velina does, she does anomaly stuff and a bloom stuff, like Bernice or Vivian, I think. More important is what the wind anomaly does, Windswept basically amplifies the damage of attribute anomalies while turning off disorders. The tutorial about Wind and Windswept is already in the game. It's funny to think the devs not only created an anti-Void Hunter enemy, they created an anti-Miyabi attribute. Wind completely ruins Miyabi's disorder game plan. With Velina, you can pick Bernice, Grace, Piper, or Jane. There's the chance Jane will be good with her. We will wait to see if that's true. On top of that, Season 3 will try to sell players on doing a lot of Wind stuff early on, similar to Rupture in Season 2. Even though there were only 2 real Rupture fights, there were plenty of stage buffs for Rupture. So I expect Wind will be very useful for a long time. The only reason I hesitate recommending her is that the best freely available anomaly supports are not good enough. Seth and Lucy are just not good enough. Nicole is more team dependent. You can use Nicole, it just depends on which agent she's buffing. Simply put, they are nowhere near as good as Yuzuha or Nongong-yu. I don't know if Velina wants Nongong, but it's an option. They will absolutely release a Wind support in the near future, and hopefully another anomaly support that would remedy some of these issues. Make it an A rank, please. Make a good anomaly A rank, whatever. If I were to pull one agent for long-term investment, it might be Velina. It depends on if I could get a Yuzuha or if I could get like another anomaly support really quickly. That is actually good. Maybe they do something cool with Rina to make her a much better electric anomaly support. Maybe. Well, I'll wait to see. Last but not least is Norma. Norma is a fire stun agent. She does stun stuff. Imagine if Jufufu were closer in power to dial in. Because she's a generic stunner, she can be used on any team that really wants a stun agent, except for maybe anomaly teams. Remember Pariah carry? Remember how Nicole is still one of the best supports in the game and an agent that every player has? Hear me out. Pariah doesn't want a lot for Zenless. There is just one thing they need. They don't care about the presents from the anniversary. They just want Norma for their own. More than we could ever know, because the beta's not finished. Make their wish come true. All they want for Season 3 is Norma? Maybe? I don't know. Just use Pyrois, Norma, Nicole. Easy team building right there. On top of that, Soldier 11 is actually good now, and Nekomata could get her potential unlocked soon. So if you get them for free, boom, there are more agents to use with Norma. You can plug any future attack or rupture DPS into her team and it will probably be fine. This is why if I were to start a brand new account right now, I would seriously consider picking Norma as my one agent for long-term investment. But that could change if they rerun Dylan right next to her. That would be weird. Without knowing how much win content and shilling will exist in the endgame, I think it's the first or second best correct answer. Now, before I wrap this up, you might notice there's still a lot to talk about. There's one thing I want to let you know. One little secret I've been hiding. When I was talking about long-term investment, I tricked you. I've been deceiving you this entire time. The reason investment has been in quotes and said like that is because I never told you what that actually means. How do I define investment? Simply put, investment is your own personal enjoyment of the game. So when I say a long-term investment, I actually believe long-term enjoyment. What's the difference? Some players put the cart before the horse. They are led to believe, either by other players or actually the game itself, because it markets itself that way. They believe that if they get a strong endgame agent, that they will enjoy the game more. That's not true. You have to enjoy the game first. If you enjoy the game, whatever parts of the game that might be, you will naturally want to play more, to do more, to invest more of yourself into the game. I hope everyone who installs Zenless has that moment where it clicks for them and they realize, oh, I get it. I actually get it. This is why I enjoy this. There are many players who have spent way more money in this game than I have. They have or had really strong end game accounts. They aren't playing the game anymore. They no longer enjoy it, or at least for now. Maybe they're taking a break, and that's a good thing. If you aren't enjoying a game, taking a break is actually very healthy. I still play the game because, in spite of its very serious and obvious flaws within the past year, I still enjoy some certain aspects of it. I will always praise the parts that are good, criticize the parts that are bad, and try to analyze and explain the parts that can be improved. Here's a quick example. Before 2.7, I was confident that I was going to skip Cecilia, a sub DPS for an electric attacker I don't have, who won't be better than my Soldier Zero Ambi, and her outfit looks stupid? Perfect. Easy skip. More pulls for me. Not to mention the story. 2.6 was an outlier. There's very little chance the main story of 2.7 has the time and effort it needs to be good. And then I played it. Oh my gosh. I was an electric anomaly. I was shocked. That's a stupid thing in my script. I should cut that out. The writing, the pacing, the characterizations, everything was clean, or at the very least, a lot cleaner than it has been recently. I expected nothing and was pleasantly surprised. Out of respect for the time and effort they put into the writing, that's the reason I pulled for her. Then I came to realize that I actually enjoy her gameplay as a main DPS. Lots of creative opportunities within my budget. The end game focused players might look at my pulling for Cecilia as a bad idea. That's a bad investment. I was baited into pulling for her. I was tricked or fooled. Here's the reality. I pulled for Cecilia because it was a good investment. I enjoy the character. I ended up enjoying her gameplay. I have enough agents to build interesting teams around her, and it's all within my budget. It was the right call. And if you really argue about like which agents are bait, everyone's a bait. If you pull for Velina because of her design, because of her story, because of her gameplay, because of her place in the end game meta, regardless of the reason, you're baited. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But Zenless is monetized on gambling to acquire new agents and empower them. MiHoYo wants you to spend more time and money than you thought you would. If you pull for Velina, try her out and think, oh, this other agent also works really well with her. I should pull for them. Nice job, you fell for it. Again, I don't have an issue with that, in theory. I will never become a financial well. I just don't have that kind of money. I keep a tight budget. But I have definitely invested a ton of my time, my energy, my creativity into this game. And from that investment, I still enjoy certain aspects of the game with the resources I have available. But some players don't have that same mindset, and it makes me feel sad for them, especially for the endgame focused players. Again, to reiterate, they announced in the Season 3 Dev Talk, quote, "Beyond the wind attribute, we've also drawn from our experience working on the latest Rupture specialty on top of player feedback in order to formulate and explore more possibilities regarding combat strategies and team synergy," end quote. I don't believe them. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope I look like a fool in a few months. I know they just released Cecilia, and she definitely fits that description. I'm pleasantly surprised. She actually would have been even better because in the beta she also buffed physical. That's why she has an ether veil for no reason, for that Yeshonguang team up. But that statement they made, it sounds like marketing nonsense. You know what's an interesting team synergy? Promeia, Lighter, Bernice. That team's fine in Hollow Zero, but it isn't good enough in the endgame, not anymore. It would have been fine back before they kept nerfing anomaly teams by making anomaly buildup harder, and that leads me into the endgame. Right now, I will say Zenless's endgame is, I'll say miserable, mostly by design. HP inflation at its current pace is definitely a problem. The amount of niche shilling in endgame is definitely a problem. Shiyu defense's limiting and shield stage buffs, and depending on who you ask, its score system are definitely problems. Bosses with limiting mechanics that require specific teams are definitely concerns, if not quite problems. Now, I wouldn't have many, if any, issues with those things if players could very easily get every agent released. This boss has limiting mechanics, like, well, that's fine. You can mess around with every agent, so who cares? Use whatever team you like. But people can't do that. There's a reason Zenless has a 50-50 system with flashy, shiny animations when you pull for agents. They want you to gamble. You are playing slots when you pull. I have been incredibly fortunate to not lose any 50-50 since 2.4. That's why I could get agents that I wanted. There are some players who never won a 50-50 in that same time. They're having a much worse experience. They want to get an agent, and they simply can't. The game says, screw you, spend money or die. And some of you new or returning players will have to endure the useless suggestions from players who ask, why are you struggling? It's not that hard. Here's the thing. You don't have the agents. You don't have the W engines. You don't have the drive discs. You don't have the gameplay experience and understanding. You do not have the tools that other players have. Now, you can remedy this by practicing with purpose, by farming drive discs, by trying to pull for teams. But until you get those things, you will struggle a lot. If you missed out on Nongongyu and Yuzaha, I'm sorry. You are probably going to have a miserable time in anomaly fights, except for maybe Promeia because she can actually make good use of Nicole and Sokaku. That's just how it is. I hope they resolve it. Rina's potential unlock would be an easy way to do that. Or they could, I don't know, make an A-rank win support who is effectively a weaker version of Yuzaha. But until then, you're just probably going to suffer. It's one thing to reward specific teams, but they are also heavy-handed in making certain teams worse. The devs released an overpowered disorder crit DPS named Miyabi that they outright told players to get. Now, how do we make it so players feel bad when using Miyabi against new Deadly Assault bosses? Make new bosses resist ice, make the next Ice Weak boss have incredibly high defense and anomaly buildup, make the next Ice Weak boss have an extended period where you can't apply any disorders, and make the next one an anomaly boss that reduces crit damage by a bajillion. In the same patch, they release a Miyabi skin. I think that's fascinating. This is also why I feel bad for the endgame focused players. They have to keep spending money to get the same times and scores that they paid for, that they were already getting with their time, their skills, and for many players, their money. They did the right things. They did all the right things the endgame is driving them to do. And their reward for engaging in that system is lower scores and slower times. Yeshronggong players had a rude awakening in 2.7 when many noticed their scores dropped substantially because the HP jumped up and the buff was worse. That's why I steer clear of score chasing. It's very much a Sisyphus trap. I'm not pushing that boulder. I still chase after scores, but with a very different scope. I'm guessing probably none of the active Banyue players have played Lighter Bernice with double Inferno Metal or the Angels of Delusion. Those teams are not good, but they have interesting combat strategies and team synergy. Hey, that's what the devs said. That must mean they want to reward that, right? No, no, they don't. Or at least they can't. Hear me out. Someone on the team made and designed Harumasa. Someone on the team made and designed Cecilia. Someone on the team made and designed Miyabi. There are people who make and design these characters that we enjoy using who also have engaging gameplay depth when pushed to their limit. Yes, even Miyabi, despite her being overpowered. If you don't believe me, spend an hour trying to perfect the original Mono Ice team. You will come back with a newfound appreciation. There's definitely a structure they are told to follow. I highly doubt the kit designers for Harumasa wanted anomaly bosses to reduce crit damage, when Harumasa is specifically designed to be used in anomaly teams. If the devs truly want to explore more possibilities regarding combat strategies and team synergy, they should look at Harumasa. They should look at Inferno Metal. They should look at positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement. Agents and buffs and drive discs that ask players to make meaningful, interesting, creative decisions. I don't think they will be allowed to deliver on that promise, but there's always a sliver of hope. So in conclusion, because of how I play the game, and because I am so invested in my long-term enjoyment of the game, if I could only pull for one agent from 2.8 to 3.0, I am probably choosing Starlight Billy, even though I hadn't had enough of a chance to play him. That is probably the most correct answer for me, and it's not going to be the same for you. I still haven't played enough of him, so I'm still not quite sure if I truly love his gameplay, which is why I recommend you mess around with these agents in the free ways that you can, or really research them before you commit to spending resources on them. I'm not pulling for Promeia, but until they remove this game mode, I can always use her in Hollow Zero, and that's awesome. I will always praise Hollow Zero for how it promotes a positive, casual gameplay experience, with the options to make it harder. If I pull for two agents, which I probably will, my second choice is Velina, because I think wind stuff could be interesting. I still want to see how Velina and Wind interacts with the agents we have and how they design Season 3 enemies. Norma is probably my third or fourth option because I already have enough stunners and I've skipped a lot of anomaly agents. That's why Promeia might be third or she might be fourth. I'm not quite sure. And that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for joining me. Tell me your thoughts down below. Who do you want to pull for? How do you want to see Zenless develop? What time next year do you think they will finally rerun Harumasa? If you want to see more of this stuff, you can just subscribe. That's it. If you want to go beyond that, I greatly appreciate all my sponsors. You don't have to do that. Don't give what you don't have. But I am very grateful for the sponsors that I have. Shoutouts to my super sponsors. I Love My PC, Jam Jalopy, Superbro64, and Tactica. Thank y'all so much. Other than that, actually watching my videos and recommending them to others is also a way to support the channel. Let's see, what else? I might be trying to do some merch soon, release some merchandise that I think is actually interesting. I'm trying to workshop that. Yeah, that's all I got. My name's Yojimbo Blade, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. See you soon. Who else am I gonna lean on when you get stuff? Who is gonna talk to me on the phone to stun windows up? Who is gonna take your place? There ain't no stunner bed. Oh, dial in, we belong together.